everybody. I'm Colleen Condon, and welcome to Porch Chats. I'm chair of the Charleston County Democratic Party, and we are proud to publish these interviews so you can get to know our candidates better. This afternoon, we have with us Kathryn Whitaker. Welcome, Kathryn.
Thanks, Colleen. Hi, everyone.
Well, so glad you're with us today. Kathryn's running for State Senate, seat 37. And Kathryn, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I am born and raised in South Carolina. I'm from Cameron, South Carolina, which is right outside of Orangeburg. It's a rural agricultural community, a lot of farmland, one blinking light in the town. Born and raised there, went to school at Clemson, was a communication major, and interned one summer while I was there for Mayor Riley in the city of Charleston in their public information office. And that's really when I was inspired to know the good that government can do. I really probably got bitten by the government politics bug back then. And am now getting into, of course, running for office for the first time for State Senate District 37. Terrific. I am married. My husband Gabe and I have been married for 15 years, and we have two children, a 7th grader and a 3rd grader in Charleston County Public Schools, a girl and a boy. So they keep us busy. And that's a little bit about me and us.
Oh, terrific. Well, tell us, why are you running for Senate District 37?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, as I mentioned, I've been interested in government and politics for a while. But a couple of years ago, I got more involved on the advocacy side and specifically around kindergarten readiness. So I saw there was starting to be an increase in people paying attention to, of course, our minimally adequate education and the problems with the disparities that causes. But we were leaving out the 0 to 5, I thought, that we were really focused on K through 12 and in some cases higher ed, but we were leaving out 0 to 5. And we know to be true that that is a crucial time period for getting kids started right? So a couple of years ago, I took the day off and went up to Columbia with a group from the United Way to meet with our legislators to talk about kindergarten readiness. And I went up there, figured out where to park and where to go. The first time you go to the State House, it's a little confusing to figure out where to go in that building. Finally got to where I was supposed to be, got through the group I was supposed to be with. Our senator had not scheduled an appointment with us, even though we had reached out a couple times to try to do so. So we ended up just needing to call him out into the lobby to try to have a conversation with him. And my particular experience that afternoon was I felt dismissed and didn't really feel like I was heard. Or really paid attention to, if you will. And so after that day, I really thought to myself, this is not how government is supposed to work. You know, it's supposed to be representative of the people. Then I found out that our senator has been unopposed for 16 years. And as I started to study more as well about, you know, the number of people who've been in office for that long and the number of Republicans who've run unopposed for that long, the lack of female leadership and female representation in our state assembly as well, the General Assembly, I just started feeling this sense of urgency I wanted to see change. And if I wanted to see change, I felt like other people probably did too. And as I started talking with folks, they said, well, then why don't you run? So I had to talk to my family. But that's really the reasons. It's because I feel like government is supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people. And you know, it's not that way in South Carolina in a lot of different respects. And that's what I want to be. I want to be a servant leader and want to bring that to, you know, South Carolina government. And so that's why I'm running.
That was absolutely true, of course, a few months ago. I think it's been so magnified by what we're going through now. Those kids who do not have a good support system at home are going to absolutely be further behind the curve once we get kids back in school. Absolutely. And I think it's definitely going to take the state legislature to put some attention to it next year. So I'm glad you'll be up there fighting that fight for us. So besides education, what other issues or do you want to share with voters today?
Sure. Well, and I think you're exactly right that one of the biggest ones we're going to have to deal with is the health and economic impacts of this pandemic, right? So that's going to be top of mind for everyone, and we're going to have a lot of things we got to figure out coming out of this thing. So I think that's going to be, of course, significantly important. Otherwise, I think in our area, in District 37 is a big, huge district. It covers a lot of Berkeley County and parts of Charleston County. I live in the northern part of Mount Pleasant, and overdevelopment has been an issue here for a while. and balancing development with conservation of our natural resources continues to be an issue. And you're starting to see it in kind of the other parts of District 37 as well. If you look at Goose Creek, for example, of which about half is in the district, they're dealing with some of those issues as well. And a lot of even some of the rural areas, you really start to see that tension.
Right.
And it's really a balance that needs to happen. It's not that we don't want development. It's not that we don't want people here and housing for people to be here and that kind of thing. It's just a matter of balancing it with the resources we have. And making sure all that's done in a smart way. And so I think that's another issue. And then, of course, education that we talked about are probably my top three. And there's a lot of other things that need to happen in this area too. But those are the three that immediately come to mind that I've been hearing most from people as I'm talking to folks around the district.
I mean, there's some gorgeous areas in Senate District 37.
Absolutely.
And so while you want to have growth, you also want to maintain some of that characteristics.
Absolutely. And we have some great people doing some great work in that area. We've got Francis Marion Park in our district. We've got Cypress Gardens. We've got some of these really great, as you say, showcases really of our low country way of life and our way of doing things. I mean, I have a 9-year-old boy who would rather be outside on the water, in the woods or any time of day, all the time. And, I want him to be able to do that. And I want to be able to maintain that way of life as well for generations to come. And it's really at risk if we don't balance it in the right ways. And so we got to make sure that's a priority.
With it, do you feel like the General Assembly's really been able to play as much of a role this year as you would have hoped in such a situation?
No, I don't think so. I think, partly, of course, because of all this, but also because I think a lot of times, this state has been run by the same people with the same priorities for a long time. And I don't think in a lot of different areas that they feel the same sense of urgency that we do. Frankly, I think they've gotten too comfortable. And I think that's part of what this election in 2020 is about for South Carolina, all across our state, but certainly in this district. It's really about, are you kind of happy with the way things are and have been, or do you want to see some change? And if you keep electing the same people, you're not going to see anything different. So that's really the fundamental question, is whether folks are thinking we need a change. And I certainly think we do. And that's the whole reason I'm running. It comes down to fundamentally that.
With the economic issues that we'll be facing, we haven't really seen the tax implications yet, I don't think, because of the delay on the taxes. I mean, it's going to create some extra challenges next year.
Absolutely. And I think it's the perfect time, I think, to highlight the need for a new generation of leadership. I don't think we're going back to normal. As people keep saying back to normal, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're in a new future here. In the same way that everything changed after 9/11, I think we're in this state of everything's going to change after the COVID-19 pandemic. And so what does that look like? And for South Carolina, what does that mean? We have been needing to have comprehensive tax reform in South Carolina for a long time. And again, have not had the legislative leadership we've needed to make that happen, even though our business community, for one, has been crying out for it. And so those are the kind of things that you need a new generation of leadership to come in. I'm so excited that we have so many folks. I'm barely on the cusp of being a millennial, but so many folks kind of in this next generation running this year that want to be a part of the solutions that we need in our state. So, I think that this is it's frankly a perfect time and a perfect storm to say we need a new generation of leadership, and let's do it.
Well, it to serve well takes a lot more time than to serve minimally, as I know you already realize. I mean, I spent over half of my time as a council member going to neighborhood meetings and meeting with citizens and doing things completely away from actually the government meetings themselves. Can we count on you to be available?
Absolutely. So that's one of my key priorities, is being responsive. As I've talked with folks, people have started reaching out to me now as they learn about my candidacy and the fact that I'm running. And as I've talked with people about what matters to them, I hear it's basically they want to be heard. They want somebody to know what they're dealing with and to have a commitment to listening and learning. And I learn something from every conversation I have, and absolutely I'm going to show up. It's important that when we can gather safely again, that we show up to all the things. And for now, we show up virtually. But I think it's so important to stay in touch with people, because if you're not taking meetings, if you're not on the phone, if you're not hearing from the people that you are elected to serve, how can you be truly know that you're serving them well. And to be a servant leadership, you have to have that communication. So absolutely, I make that commitment to the folks that I want to serve, that I will be here and be responsive and be a transparent leader. That's a key priority for me.
Oh, that is terrific. Well, how are you keeping in touch with voters right now? How are you connecting with them and learning about their concerns now?
Yeah, absolutely. I spend a lot of time on the phone, and I've gotten very familiar with Zoom. I worked from home before this pandemic made a lot of us work from home, and so I've been familiar with kind of virtually meeting for a while now. But we've been doing all kinds of Zoom chats and kind of virtual town halls and things as well, but also just phone calls with people. And folks are answering the phone because they're kind of craving that human connection, which has been great. So if we can't knock on doors and we can't attend events, at least we're making a proactive effort to reach out to people. And again, folks are emailing me and calling me and texting me. And so happy to kind of chat with anybody at any time about what matters. I'm on Facebook as well. So I get folks that reach out to me on Facebook Messenger all the time too. Kathryn for Senate is my Facebook page for the campaign. And we monitor that all the time. So those are the ways, just virtually in any way we can, we're staying in touch with people. And we're doing some Zoom happy hours and some fun things like that too, just to make sure people get a little fun in their quarantine life these days.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what's your website?
So my website is kathrynforsenate.com.
Okay.
And I'm Kathryn for Senate on Facebook as well, and Kathryn Whitaker on Instagram. And I've had Twitter forever, so I'm just at KBWhit on Twitter. But again, you can probably just search Kathryn Whitaker or find it from the website, the link to there.
Okay.
So I'm on all the things.
Oh, perfect. And running a state Senate race is also an expensive proposition. So it's something, my guess is it's a little bit more challenging right now to raise money than it usually is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking it's also just as important, if not more important, because it's going to be an expensive process to campaign without having door-to-door that you can do with volunteers.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, Helene. It's really interesting. We've run the numbers. We look at the numbers all the time. This is a winnable race. If you think about the areas that District 37 covers in Berkeley County, we're talking about all of Daniel Island, all of Moncks Corner, half of Goose Creek, half of Hanahan, up to Bono Beach at its northernmost point. And then in Charleston County, we've got North Mount Pleasant, which includes Park West, Dunes West, Rivertown, Brickyard, where I am, all the neighborhoods kind of in that area, plus North Charleston Precinct 9. So we've got some spots all over the place, really, in this big district. But as I mention all those places to you, it's clear it's not the district it was that he drew for himself 10 years ago. So a lot of things have changed in this district in terms of new voters, but also it's a 54% female electorate, and so when you think about the fastest growing block shifting of voters are college educated women. So, that's a big part of our district. We've got the presidential primary turnout in our district increased by over 6,000 votes from 16 to 20. So there are multiple paths to victory for us, and we've spelled all that out. And the thing we know we need is the finances to run a well-paid communication plan to flip this seat. And so I know if you've heard Trav, and I know you guys as well, we're all prioritizing flipping the South Carolina Senate blue, which we can do in 2020, but we have to have the resources to do it. So I appreciate the question, because it's very important to be able to reach the people we need to reach with our message. And if we can, we will win.
I absolutely think you can win, and I think you're going to be a great asset to the South Carolina Senate. Kathryn, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I think we've gotten all the information in as far as website and such, but we'll also link it down below. So have a good afternoon. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.